The Queen Elizabeth class is a class of 2 aircraft carriers currently under construction for the British Royal Navy. The first, HMS Queen Elizabeth, was christened on July 4, 2014, with her commissioning taking place in 2016/17, and an initial operational capability expected in 2020. The second, HMS Prince of Wales, is at a less advanced stage of construction and is scheduled for launch around 2017, followed by commissioning in 2020. A decision has not yet been made on whether to operate the second carrier. The contract for the vessels was announced on July 25, 2007 by the then Secretary of State for Defence, Des Browne, ending several years of delay over cost issues and British naval shipbuilding restructuring. The contracts were signed 1 year later on July 3, 2008, after the creation of BVT Surface Fleet through the merger of BAE Systems Surface Fleet Solutions and VT Group's VT Shipbuilding, which was a requirement of the UK government. The vessels will displace approximately 65,000 tons upon delivery, but the design anticipates growth to 70,600 tons over the lifetime of the ship. The ships will be 280 meters long and have a tailored air group of up to 40 aircraft. They will be the largest warships ever constructed for the Royal Navy. The projected cost of the program is £6.2 billion. The carriers will be completed as originally planned, in a short takeoff and vertical landing configuration, deploying the Lockheed Martin F-35B. Following the 2010 Strategic Defence and Security Review, the British government had intended to purchase the F-35C carrier version of this aircraft, and adopted plans for Prince of Wales to be built to a catapult-assisted takeoff but arrested recovery configuration. After the projected costs of the CAT-OBAR system rose to around twice the original estimate, the government announced that it would revert to the original design on May 10, 2012. Under the previous plans, the Royal Navy would operate only one aircraft carrier, routinely equipped with 12 fast jets. However, the Chief of the Defence Staff has subsequently said that the STOVL design gives us the ability to operate 2 carriers if we choose. The final decision will be made at the next major strategic defence review, expected in 2015. Background: Strategic Defence Review. In May 1997, the newly elected Labour government launched the Strategic Defence Review, which re-evaluated every weapons system with the exception of the Eurofighter Typhoon and the Vanguard-class ballistic missile submarines. The report, published in July 1998, identified that aircraft carriers offered the following: ability to operate offensive aircraft abroad when foreign basing may be denied. All required space and infrastructure. Where foreign bases are available, they are not always available early in a conflict and infrastructure is often lacking. A coercive and deterrent effect when deployed to a trouble spot. The report concluded, the emphasis is now on increased offensive air power, and an ability to operate the largest possible range of aircraft in the widest possible range of roles. When the current carrier force reaches the end of its planned life, we plan to replace it with 2 larger vessels. Work will now begin to refine our requirements, but present thinking suggests that they might be of the order of 30,000 to 40,000 tons and capable of deploying up to 50 aircraft, including helicopters. Design studies: the vessels, described as supercarriers by the media, legislators and sometimes by the Royal Navy, will displace approximately 65,080 each, over 3 times the displacement of the current Invincible class. They will be the largest warships ever built in the United Kingdom. The last large carriers proposed for the Royal Navy, the CVA-01 program, were cancelled by the Labour government in 1966. In November 2004, giving evidence to the House of Commons Defence Committee, First Sea Lord Admiral Sir Alan West explained that the sortie rate and interoperability with the United States Navy were factors in deciding on the size of the carriers and the composition of the carriers' air wings. On January 25, 1999, 6 companies were invited to tender for the assessment phase of the project: Boeing, British Aerospace, Lockheed Martin, Marconi Electronic Systems, Raytheon and Thomson CSF. On November 23, 1999, the Ministry of Defence awarded detailed assessment studies to 2 consortia, one led by BAE and one led by Thomson CSF. The brief required up to 6 designs from each consortium with their groups of 30 to 40 future joint combat aircraft. The contracts were split into phases. The first £5.9 a million phase was for design assessment, which would form part of the aircraft selection, while the second £23.5 a million phase involved risk reduction on the preferred carrier design option. Aircraft and carrier format selection. On January 17, 2001, the UK signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the United States Department of Defense for full participation in the Joint Strike Fighter program, confirming the JSF as the FJCA. This gave the UK input into aircraft design and the choice between the Lockheed Martin 1035 and Boeing X-32. On October 26, 2001, the DoD announced that Lockheed Martin had won the JSF contract. On September 30, 2002, the MOD announced that the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force would operate the STOVL F-35B variant. Also announced was that the carriers would take the form of large, conventional carriers, initially adapted for STOVL operations. The carriers, expected to remain in service for 50 years, were designed for but not with catapults and arrestor wires. The carriers were thus planned to be future-proof, allowing them to operate a generation of cat-o'-bar aircraft beyond the F-35. 4 months later, on January 30, 2003, the Defense Secretary, Jeff Hoon, announced that the Thales Group design had won the competition but that BAE Systems would operate as prime contractor. The contract for the vessels was announced on July 25, 2007 by the then Secretary of State for Defense, Des Browne, ending several years of delay over cost issues and British naval shipbuilding restructuring. The cost was initially estimated to be £3.9 a billion. The contracts were officially signed 1 year later on July 3, 2008, after the creation of BVT Surface Fleet through the merger of BAE Systems Surface Fleet Solutions and BT Group's BVT Shipbuilding, which was a requirement of the UK government. At the time of approval, the first carrier was expected to enter service in July 2015 and the budget was £4,085 million for 2 ships. The financial crisis led to a decision in December 2008 to slow production, delaying the first ship until May 2016 and the second by 2 years. This decision alone added £1,560 million to the cost. By March 2010 the budget was estimated at £5,900 million. And in November 2013 the contract was renegotiated with a budget of £6,200 million and BAE accepting to pay 50% of any cost overruns rather than 10% as previously. Then in August 2009, speculation mounted that the UK would drop the F-35B for the F-35C model, which would have meant the carriers being built to operate conventional takeoff and landing aircraft using the US-designed electromagnetic aircraft launch system catapults. Strategic Defense and Security Review 2010. On October 19, 2010, the government announced the results of his Strategic Defense and Security Review. The review stated that only one carrier was certain to be commissioned. The fate of the other was left undecided. The second ship of the class could be placed in extended readiness to provide a continuous single-carrier strike capability when the other was in refit, or provide the option to regenerate more quickly to a 2-carrier strike ability. Alternatively, the second ship could be sold in cooperation with a close ally to provide continuous carrier strike capability. It was also announced that the operational carrier would have catapult and arrestor gear installed to accommodate the carrier variant of the Joint Strike Fighter rather than the short takeoff and vertical landing version. The decision to convert Prince of Wales to cat-o'-bar was reviewed after the projected costs rose to around double the original estimate. On May 10, 2012, the Defence Secretary, Philip Hammond, announced in Parliament that the government had decided to revert to its predecessor's plans to purchase the F-35B rather than the F-35C, and to complete both aircraft carriers with ski jumps in the STOVL configuration. The total cost of the work that had been done on the conversion to a cat-o'-bar configuration, and of reverting the design to the original STOVL configuration, was estimated by Philip Hammond to be something in the order of £100 million. In later testimony before a parliamentary committee, Bernard Gray, Chief of Defense Materiel, revealed that even though the carriers had been sold as adaptable and easy to convert for cat and traps, no serious effort had been made in this direction since 2002. Design, general characteristics. The ship's company is 679 rising to 1,600 with their element added. They will have a displacement of 65,000 tons on delivery, but the design allows for this to reach over 70,000 tons as the ship is upgraded through its lifetime. They have an overall length of 280 meters, a width at deck level of 70 meters, a height of 56 meters, a draft of 11 meters and a range of 10,000 nautical miles. The Ministry of Defense decided not to use nuclear propulsion due to its high cost, so power is supplied by two Rolls-Royce Marine Trent Mount 3036 AMW gas turbine generator units and 4 Watt Currency RTSILA Currency diesel generator sets and two 11 AMW sets. The Trents and diesels are the largest ever supplied to the Royal Navy, and together they feed the low-voltage electrical systems as well as 4 GE power conversions 20 MW advanced induction motor electric propulsion motors that drive the twin fixed-pitch propellers. Instead of a single island superstructure containing both the ship's navigation bridge and flying control centers, the ships will have these operations divided between two structures, with the forward island for navigating the ship and the aft island for controlling flying operations. Under the flight deck are a further 9 decks. The hangar deck measures 155 by 33.5 meters with a height of 6.7 to 10 meters, large enough to accommodate up to 20 fixed and rotary wing aircraft. To transfer aircraft from the hangar to the flight deck, the ships have 2 large lifts, each of which are capable of lifting 2 F-35-sized aircraft from the hangar to the flight deck in 60 seconds. The ship's only announced self-defense weapons are currently the Phalanx CIWS for airborne threats, with miniguns and 30-on cannon to counter seaborne threats. Systems. The ship's radars will be the BAE Systems and Thales S-1850M, the same as fitted to the Type 45 destroyers. For long-range wide-area search, the BAE Systems Artisan 3D Type 997 maritime medium-range active electronically scan array radar, and a navigation radar. BAE claims the S-1850M has a fully automatic detection and track initiation that can track up to 1,000 air targets at a range of around 400 kilometers. Artisan can track a target the size of a snooker ball over 20 kilometers away at 200 kilometers. They will also be fitted with the Ultra-Electronic Series 2500 electro-optical system and glide path camera. Munitions and ammunition handling is accomplished using a highly mechanized weapons handling system. This is a first naval application of a common land-based warehouse system. The HMWHS moves palletized munitions from the magazines and weapon preparation areas, along trackways and via several lifts, forward and aft or port and starboard. The tracks can carry a pallet to magazines, the hangar, weapons preparation areas, and the flight deck. In a change from normal procedures, the magazines are unmanned, the movement of pallets is controlled from a central location, and manpower is only required when munitions are being initially stored or prepared for use. This system speeds up delivery and reduces the size of the crew by automation. Crew facilities will include a cinema, physical fitness areas and 4 galleys manned by 67 catering staff. There are 4 large dining areas, the largest with the capacity to serve 960 meals in 1 hour. There are 11 medical staff for the 8-bed medical facility, which includes an operating theatre and a dental surgery. There are 1,600 bunks in 470 cabins, including accommodation for a company of 250 Royal Marines with wide assault routes up to the flight deck. Carrier Air Group. The vessels are expected to be capable of carrying 40 aircraft, a maximum of 36 F-35s and 4 helicopters. The 2010 SDS are anticipated the routine deployment of 12 F-35Bs, but a typical warload will be 24 F-35Bs and a number of helicopters. The helicopters could be a maritime force protection package of 9 anti-submarine Merlin HM2 and 4 or 5 Merlin Crowsnest for airborne early warning. Alternatively, a littoral maneuver package could include a mix of RAF Chinooks, Army Apaches, Merlin HC-4 and Wildcat HM-2. As of September 2013, 6 landing spots are planned, but the deck could be marked out for the operation of 10 medium helicopters at once, allowing the lift of a company of 250 troops. The hangars are designed for CH-47 Chinook operations without blade folding and the V-22 Osprey tilt rotor, whilst the aircraft lifts can accommodate 2 Chinooks with unfolded blades. Fixed-wing aircraft. Although the size of the Queen Elizabeth class would enable it to accommodate most current and projected carrier-based fixed-wing aircraft, the lack of a resting gear and angled flight deck means that, as initially completed, it is only capable of operating STOVL aircraft. As of 2014, the only STOVL fixed-wing aircraft either in service or projected to enter large-scale production are the McDonnell Douglas AV-8B Harrier, its intended replacement the Lockheed Martin F-35B Lightning, and the Bell Boeing V-22 Osprey tilt rotor. F-35 Lightning II. With the retirement of the Harrier GR7/9 in 2010, there remain no carrier-capable fixed-wing aircraft available to the Royal Navy or Royal Air Force. Their expected replacement is the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II. As originally intended, the ships will carry the STOVL version, the F-35B. The aircraft will be flown by pilots from the Fleet Air Arm and the Royal Air Force. The aircraft are expected to begin trials flying from Queen Elizabeth in 2018 with a carrier air wing fully operational by 2020. For a period following the 2010 Strategic Defence and Security Review, the government had intended to purchase the F-35C carrier variant and modify one carrier to use the CAT-OBAR system to launch and recover these aircraft. This was because the cheaper F-35C variant has a greater range and can carry a larger and more diverse payload than the F-35B. On May 10, 2012, Defence Secretary Philip Hammond announced in Parliament that the government had decided to revert to its predecessor's plans to purchase the F-35B rather than the F-35C, and to abandon the completion of Prince of Wales to a CAT-OBAR configuration. The reason given was that conversion to a Euro CATS and TRAPS, a Euro unregistered trademark, will cost about double what was originally estimated €1, and would not be delivered until 2023 at the earliest. On July 19, 2012, the Defence Secretary, Philip Hammond, indicated in a speech in the USA that the UK would order an initial 48 F-35B aircraft to be operated jointly by the Royal Air Force and Fleet Air Arm. Helicopters. Merlin. The Aegistorland AW101 is a medium-sized multi-role helicopter. 2 versions are in service with the UK Armed Forces, where it is known as Merlin. The utility version can carry up to 38 troops or 16 stretcher patients, and the anti-submarine warfare variant has a dipping sonar and sonar buoys, and a complete electronic warfare suite. Both versions use a common airframe, with 3 Rolls-Royce Turbo-Meca RTM322 engines. Their range and endurance, using only a 2-engine cruise option, is 750 nautical miles, or 6 hours. However, range can be extended further when the 5 underfloor fuel tanks are supplemented with auxiliary fuel tanks fitted in the cabin. Armament depends on mission, but includes anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, 3-door mounted machine guns, multi-purpose rocket, cannon pods, air-to-air missiles and air-to-surface missiles. Wildcat. The Aegistorland Lynx Wildcat is scheduled to enter service with the Royal Navy in 2015. The Wildcat can be equipped with several mission sensors, which can include radar, active dipping sonar, electro-optical imaging, electronic surveillance measures and an integrated self-defense suite. The HM2 maritime version can be armed with air-to-surface missiles, torpedoes, depth charges, cannons and heavy machine guns. The aircraft has a maximum range of 520 nautical miles and an endurance of 4.5 hours. Airborne early warning and control. The 1982 Falklands War emphasized the importance of airborne early warning and control and led to the development of the Sea King AW2, which was succeeded by the Sea King ASA C7. The latter will be retired in 2016, and planning for its replacement was identified at an early stage as an integral part of the next-generation aircraft carrier. The program became known as the Future Organic Airborne Early Warning, and contracts were placed with BAE/Northrop Grumman and Thales in April 2001. In April 2002, BAE and Northrop Grumman received a follow-on study contract for Phase 2 of the project, by then renamed Maritime Airborne Surveillance and Control. The MASC assessment phase began in September 2005 and by May 2006 3 study contracts were awarded for MASC platform and mission systems options, one to Lockheed Martin UK for a Merlin helicopter fitted with AEW mission systems, another to Agusta-Ostland to maintain the present Sea King ASA C-7 and finally to Thales UK to upgrade the Sea King's mission systems. Progress was delayed by the 2010 SDSA but 2013 will see the start of the assessment phase of Project christened, a bolt-on sensor package that can be carried by any Merlin HM2. Although the main investment decision has not yet been taken, it is intended that christened will enter service in 2020 with a deployable capability shortly afterwards. A recent PAC report, however, has revealed the main gate decision for the christened to be around 2017. In order to bridge the gap between the planned out-of-service date of the Sea King, and the expected entry into service of the christened system, in 2014 the MOD announced that the Sea King ASA C-7 would be retained in service through to the second half of 2018. Construction. During a speech on July 21, 2004, Jeff Hoon announced a one-year delay to allow contractual and cost issues to be resolved. The building of the carriers was confirmed in December 2005. The building is being undertaken by 4 companies across 7 shipyards, with final block integration and assembly at Rosyth, BAE Systems Surface Ships Govan, Scotstown and Portsmouth, Babcock Marine Rosyth and Appledore, A&P Group Hebburn, Cammell Laird Birkenhead. In December 2007, 8 diesel engines and electricity generators, 4 for each ship were ordered from WAC Currency RTSILA Currency. On March 4, 2008, contracts for the supply of 80,000 tons of steel were awarded to Chorus Group, with an estimated value of £65 a million. Other contracts included £3 a million for fibre optic cable, over £1 a million for reverse osmosis equipment to provide over 500 tons of fresh water daily, and £4 a million for aviation fuel systems. On April 3, 2008 a contract for the manufacture of aircraft lifts was awarded to McTaggart Scott of Loanhead, Scotland. In mid-May 2008, the Treasury announced that it would be making available further funds on top of the regular defence budget, reportedly allowing the construction of the carriers to begin. This was followed, on May 20, 2008, by the government giving the green light for construction of the Queen Elizabeth class, stating that it was ready to sign the contracts for full production once the creation of the planned shipbuilding joint venture between BAE Systems and the VT Group had taken place. This joint venture, BVT Surface Fleet, became operational on July 1, 2008. VT Group later sold its share to BAE Systems which renamed the unit BAE Systems Surface Ships. It will undertake approximately 40% of the project workload. On September 1, 2008, the MOD announced a £51 a million package of important equipment contracts. £34 a million for the highly mechanised weapons handling system for the 2 ships, £8 a million for supply of uptake and downtake systems for both ships, £5 a million for air traffic control software, £3 a million for supply of pumps and associated systems engineering, and £1 a million for emergency diesel generators. On October 6, 2008, it was announced that contracts had been placed for the carrier's Rolls-Royce gas turbines, generators, motors, power distribution equipment, platform management systems, propellers, shafts, steering gear, rudders and stabilizers. The construction of the 2 carriers involves more than 10,000 people from 90 companies, 7,000 of them in the 6 shipyards building the sections of the ships. Queen Elizabeth. The first steel cut for the project, in July 2009, signaled the start of construction of Lower Block 3 at BAE Systems Clyde, where production of Lower Block 4 started in January 2010. Meanwhile, construction of the bow Lower Block 1 was carried out at Appledore, North Devon, and was completed in March 2010. When the 4 lower blocks are completed, they will be transported to Rosyth to be assembled. On January 25, 2010, it was announced that the Camel-led shipyard has secured a £44 a million contract to build the flight decks of the carriers. That same day, construction began in Portsmouth of Lower Block 2 for Queen Elizabeth. The structure will house machinery spaces, stores, switchboards and some of the ship's accommodation. The block will weigh around 6,000 tons and will stand over 18 meters tall, 70 meters long and 40 meters wide. On August 16, 2011, the 8,000-ton Lower Block 03 of Queen Elizabeth left BAE Systems surface ships Govan Shipyard in Glasgow on a large ocean-going barge. Travelling 600 miles around the northern coast of Scotland, the block arrived at Rosyth on the evening of August 20, 2011. Her forward island was built at BAE Portsmouth and attached on March 14, 2013. The aft island was attached in June 2013. The ski jump was added in November 2013, leaving just the elevators and radar to be lifted into place. As of July 2014, Queen Elizabeth is nearly complete and she was christened on July 4, 2014. She will then be fitted out, with the crew moving aboard in May 2016. Sea trials begin in October 2016 and she will be handed over to the Royal Navy in early 2017. F-35 operations begin in 2018 ahead of an operational military capability in 2020. Prince of Wales. The Strategic Defence and Security Review of 2010 declared that the UK needed only 1 carrier, but penalty clauses in the contract meant that cancelling the second vessel was more expensive than building it. So the SDS had directed that the second carrier should be built and then either mothballed or sold. Defence Secretary Liam Fox cut the first steel for Prince of Wales on May 26, 2011. Prince of Wales was to be converted to a Cat-O bar configuration as a result of the SDSR. The costs of conversion escalated to £2 billion, so in May 2012 the government announced that she would revert to the original STOVL configuration. The AREN's 2012/13 yearbook stated, "Both carriers are likely to be commissioned and may even be capable of operating together." A final decision on the fate of the second carrier will be taken as part of the 2015 SDSR. Under current plans she will be commissioned in 2020. See also: Future of the Royal Navy, French aircraft carrier PA2, List of aircraft carriers of the Royal Navy, references. External links: Royal Navy, the equipment, aircraft carrier.